The old truck and the open road. Jake Carter had spent his whole life in Texas, working on cars and trucks. He loved fixing engines, changing tires, and bringing old vehicles back to life. His father had taught him everything he knew, and now, at 55, Jake ran his own little auto shop on the outskirts of Houston. One evening, as he was locking up, he noticed an old Chevy truck parked near his shop. It was rusty, the tires looked worn out, and the paint had almost faded away. The truck had seen better days, but something about it made Jake take a second look. An elderly man, maybe in his 70s, stood beside the truck. He had a kind face with deep wrinkles and wore a cowboy hat that looked just as old as the truck. He smiled at Jake and said, "Evening, son. Name's Henry. I was wondering if you could take a look at my truck. She ain't running like she used to." Jake wiped his hands on a rag and walked over. He popped the hood and looked inside. The engine was old but solid. "She's been through a lot, hasn't she?" Jake asked. Henry chuckled. "Oh, you bet. I bought this truck back in 1968. Took my wife on our first date in it. Used it to drive my kids to school. Been everywhere with her. But now, she's getting tired." Jake nodded. He understood. Some vehicles weren't just machines, they carried memories. He checked the spark plugs, the fuel line, and the battery. The truck needed work, but it was fixable. "I can fix her up," Jake said. "But it'll take a couple of days." Henry sighed in relief. "I'd appreciate that, son. I ain't got much, but I can pay you fair." Jake smiled. "Don't worry about that. We'll get her running again." For the next 2 days, Jake worked on the truck like it was his own. He replaced the old parts, fixed the ignition, changed the tires, and even gave it a fresh coat of paint. It wasn't just a job, it felt like he was bringing something special back to life. When Henry returned, his eyes widened in surprise. "She looks just like she did back in the day," he whispered, running his hand along the smooth, fresh paint. Jake handed him the keys. "And she runs even better now." Henry got in and turned the key. The engine roared to life, smooth and steady. He gripped the steering wheel and took a deep breath. For a moment, he looked like a young man again. He turned to Jake, his eyes watery. "You don't know what this means to me." Jake nodded. "I think I do." Henry smiled, tipped his hat, and drove off. As the truck disappeared down the road, Jake stood there, feeling something deep in his heart. He wasn't just fixing trucks, he was keeping memories alive. One engine at a time. Moral: some things are more than just objects, they hold memories, love, and history. True kindness is not about money, but about understanding and helping others. When we take care of something important to someone, we are also taking care of their heart.